On a January night in 2004, a 10-year-old boy and his mom would be sitting on their porch, relaxing, and in minutes, the mom would be holding her son on her knees, hands covered in blood, with a bullet wound to his head. On February 9, 2008, a 12-year-old girl would be walking to her sister's house around 7 o'clock, and at 7:15, she'd be found face down with multiple bullet wounds in her back. In February of 2004, a boy would be walking to school with only his backpack in his hopes of getting to school on time. But he would not show up to school on time. Instead, he'd be found with his bloody backpack on the ground. He would also be shot. The three incidents have three things in common. They were all children, they were all innocent, and most of all, they were killed by guns. It's easy to forget about how powerful a gun is. A simple pulling of your index finger will send that hammer flying down, send a bullet out of that barrel, smashing into someone, ending their life almost instantly. This is the power that is given to all Americans by the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was created in a time that we had militiamen, and at any moment we would have to, call to arms and, fight off the British or anything. But times have changed, and the gun has become much different than it was back then. It's a weapon of death. It's a tool of death. Some of you might even say that guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, I would say, good job, genius. The guy didn't jump up and shoot you, but a person did. And the person, if he didn't have the gun, then couldn't actually use the gun on you. America has problems, and I think one of the biggest ones is gun control. The crisis is too much. So how does one fix this problem? Well, I think it's important to see how the effects of gun control today affect all the people today, and how the gun control might be fixed with simple things. So first, with the problems. In the U.S., for 2006, there were 3,896 deaths from firearms. Distributed follows by mode of death. Suicides was 16,883, homicides was 12,791, accidents 642, legal intervention 360, and undetermined 220. This is according to the CDC in 2008. This makes firearm injuries one of the top 10 causes of U.S. Injuries top 10 causes of death in the U.S. Firearm injuries remain the leading cause of death in the U.S. among the youth. In the beginning, I mentioned 3 children that unfortunately died from firearm use. But these are only 3 of many children that died every year from firearms. According to a national data record in 2002, about 3,012 children and teens died every single year. That is one child every 3 hours, 8 children every day, and more than 50 children every week. And every year, at least 4 to 5 times as much injuries. This is also according to the Children's Defense Fund and National Center for Health. It's sad that American youth is dying and suffering in this way. It's almost ridiculous to say that guns have no factor in this situation, too. And what's even more ridiculous is that this is not a big enough reason to cause more gun control. America alone takes the prize for the most children killed by firearms. Of the industrialized countries depicted by the Center for Disease Control, the CDC estimates in 1 year Japan will lose 0 kids. Great Britain will lose 19. Germany will lose 57. France with 109. 153 in Canada, and the whopping number of 5,285 in the U.S. It's almost overwhelming to hear these numbers and to think this only accounts for children and teens dying, but it's everyone dying. Well, not everyone, but most people. It's impossible to say now to just get rid of guns across the board. It's America, a country that seems to be bred on guns and militaristic point of views. It almost seems we come out of the womb with a baseball bat, an apple pie, and a gun. But the real issue is not guns themselves, but is the enforcement of guns. I feel with some changes that America can be so much safer place and still have the right to bear arms. So first is the distribution of guns. Although American government makes people get background checks and license for guns, guns are still being sold to the wrong people. These checks need to not only be more intensive, but also need to be strongly enforced, especially to the sellers of guns. With a simple scratching of a serial number, the gun is almost untraceable to the person from where they bought the gun. This would eliminate new guns from circulating and eventually make guns harder to get. I believe the second thing is the distribution of assault rifles. Now, some of you might be wondering what an assault rifle is. Very simply, it's a rifle built to kill a larger number of people efficiently and quickly. And this is the kind of weapon that should not be in the arms or in the hands of regular citizens. Assault weapons are still being sold with the cosmetic alterations that allow them to evade the law. The law states no fully automatic weapons, but certain assault rifles can easily be altered into automatic guns. You can go on YouTube and you can type how to turn an AR-17 into a fully automatic rifle just by shaving the trigger and cutting sawing off the barrel. And you can turn a simple rifle into a machine of death. And who needs an automatic rifle to protect themselves? You're not fighting off zombies. And most of all, why do you need an automatic rifle to hunt with? You're not killing 300 bunnies in a second, or it only takes one bullet to kill a deer. So I don't know. Lastly, better safety devices for guns, especially that of handguns. With the mandatory law on handguns, they should have safety devices that not only protect you, your kids, but other people grabbing your guns. There was a study by S. Bernick, M. O'Brien, L.M. Humburn, D.L. Webster, etc., published in Injury Prevention in 2003. They talked about 3 simple safety devices that can make handguns a lot safer. First one is the personalization device. With these devices, only authorized users can use the gun. They have fingerprint machines that you would actually fingerprint the gun, allowing you to use the gun and make it operable. And also with like, I forgot what it's called, but like a scrolling lock. There's also loaded chamber indicators, or LCIs. This indicates whether the gun contains ammunition. A lot of deaths occur because the people think that the gun is empty, and that those can easily be prevented just by those indicators. Lastly is the magazine safety. This prevents the gun from firing the ammunition without the magazine. A lot of people feel that once the clip's out of the gun, that the gun is still safe. I know when I found my dad's gun when I was about 15 years old, I had the gun in my hand, and I was pointing at my dad and joking around, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Grabbed the gun, he popped it, and a shell came out. So I knew right then and there that, with that safety device, I could have killed without that, if I had that safety device, I for sure would have not killed my dad. But that's a crazy thought. With these simple but effective solutions, I believe that we can help lower casualties rates in the U.S. with gun-related deaths. Guys, the evidence is evident. The numbers don't lie. People are dying across America from gun-related deaths. I know if I had to sacrifice the right to own my gun, or own a gun, I would do it to save a child, whether it's a girl, a little boy, a man, or a woman. I know this is at least for me. Something needs to be done, folks. I hope in the future that when that time comes, whether it's a prop or a ballot, that we can make the choice to make this a safer country. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I should have reminded people Sabrina's supposed to do the written evaluation, Emily's supposed to do the oral evaluation on that. That's from the other day. Emily, have you got some comments?
I really liked it. He had a lot of supporting points. He kind of looked to that side of the room a lot, so just on one side of your face. But it was really good. He had a clear point. His attention gathering was really good.
Yeah, the attention device works pretty well. You've got some good emotional illustrations to draw us in. Your point of view is a little bit less focused than it ought to be. I know generally where you're going, but ultimately I don't know exactly where you want us to follow you to. There's no setup of the structure and the internal, there's not really a lot of clear internal signposting. You did a good job citing information on the statistics in the early part of the presentation, and I thought that was fine, but there wasn't really any data on the solutions that you talked about. It was a little weird that you were spending so much time on the safety devices, for instance, and that was the smallest part of the problem that you cited. What was it, like 600 were accidental discharges of firearms, I think, that you had somewhere in the 600s. And, the safety devices, like you're talking about the criminals who are shooting at each other, the safety device is not going to keep them from killing people. So I'm not sure that that's really what's going to be effective. You need better data on the background checks. For instance, did the 3-day waiting period background checks, did that have any impact on reducing access of the guns, to people? Is California, which has a 10-day waiting period, are they more effective at doing this than places that only have the 3 or 5-day background check that was approved back in the 90s? If you could show that, then I'd be a little bit more convinced that the background checks are going to make a difference. Otherwise, I'm not sure that you really have shown that it would reduce the likelihood of the crimes that you were talking about. On the presentation issues,